Hello, everybody. Right now, I'd like to talk to you about democracy being at risk. Former Supreme Court juror Anthony Kennedy, who was the Chief Justice prior to John Roberts, has just put out a press release that democracy's at risk. The man is actually afraid that we're going to lose our freedom. He's afraid that we're going to be becoming an autocratic nation. And he's right. He has every right to be afraid. And this is a Republican, by the way, who's saying this. Now, he didn't get into any specifics, which is just, well, what's the point of saying that democracy is at risk if you're not getting into any specifics? But he did. And then he's mentioning that a lot of other countries really look up to the United States as freedom. And if we really fall, a lot of democracies are going to fall. Well, first of all, let's just take what he said at face value. He's absolutely right. As a matter of fact, I put a link in the description. You can go ahead and read exactly what he said going forward. But I'm going to tell you the part that isn't in that paper, at least not to the extent that I'm going to tell you. The Supreme Court is made up out of a lot of ideologues and very reactionary people. Since John Roberts, who's been on the court since George W. Bush appointed him, since he's been the Chief Justice, and he's only been the Chief Justice since, well, Anthony Kennedy retired in about 2018. So in 7 years, John Roberts has undone more rulings, struck down more pieces of legislation than any Chief Justice in the history of the United States. Let's get started here. Roe versus Wade was the most popular one, but he's absolutely gotten rid of the Roe versus Wade protection and rolled back abortion rights. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which was actually going after fraudsters, is now gone. The Clean Water Act, which was passed during the Obama administration, is now gone. It is absolutely more difficult to go after a president because Donald Trump has immunity, a lot more immunity than he used to have. And even when he was instructing ICE agents to round people up and deporting them to other countries that aren't even their countries of origin, they legalized it. So democracy's at risk. I agree, but maybe if you're kind of getting the tipping point here, Anthony Kennedy had a huge part in putting democracy at risk. He was protecting voting rights, and he protected civil rights during his campaign, including marriage equality. He was actually good about marriage equality. He was actually one of the guys who led it, and he actually gave us what's called gay marriage. Because you know what? Congress didn't really pass a law about that until the Biden administration. So he was one of the people that led it. But when Donald Trump came to power, out of all the presidents that came around, when Donald Trump came to power, that is when he decided to retire. He decided to retire, and then Brett Kavanaugh was appointed as his replacement. And since then, Americans have lost more rights in the very short period of time. And they've done it all with the help of people like Anthony Kennedy. So why am I kind of doing this here? Since we're going to be creeping more and farther into autocracy, there's going to be a lot more of this kind of virtue signaling stuff from people that really had a hand in turning it into what it is today. So we're going to have to get used to that. But just here, I'm making this video for those of you who don't know who this man is, so you know that this man is a huge responsibility in putting this democracy at risk. When a man who tried to lead an insurrection, who's convicted of civilly liable for sexual assault and then defaming that same woman, someone who's already threatened our allies, causing an economic crisis, a lot of those ICE raids have actually gone to farms, while a company that his vice president started with J.D. Vance is going around buying up those farms. I'm sure I'll do a video on that on some other time. He has actually rounded up American citizens with the ICE raids, although accidentally, allegedly. And some of the people that have been grabbed by ICE have never been found again. People are dead. In Georgia, there was a woman that actually was brain dead and had to be kept alive while her baby that ended up dying needed to be born against the wishes of the family. So yeah, he's right. Democracy needs to be at risk. But what I'm trying to tell you is be very careful about people that say they like democracy and they're so pro-democracy. You have to look at their actions. Even though it's a nice thing to say, and he's correct to say it, when he was in a position of power to protect democracy, he really didn't do it in the end. He did somewhat for a while, but even when he was the Chief Justice, he got rid of a lot of the Voting Rights Act and gutted it pretty well. So we'll see how this goes. Bottom line, the Anthony Kennedys, the Mitch McConnells, the Lisa Murkowskis, the Susan Collins, the Tilson guy from North Carolina, they might say the right things when there's no political pressure on them, but when there's political pressure on them, they will do the wrong thing, and they will absolutely put us into autocracy. Now, these are all different people with different opinions, with different views on the world, but you're wasting your time believing any of them's coming to save you.